Good evening. We're going to start out this. First of all, I'm Gary Taylor, President and CEO of your Congressional Chamber of Commerce. And we're going to start out by asking Mr. Andy Anderson of the Travis Credit Union to lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag, which represents the greatest nation on earth? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, please remain standing. Sonia Hart is going to now sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you. Please be seated. Welcome once again. I might say after doing these forums now for 12 years and 5 months, this is the largest crowd we've ever had assembled here at Travis Credit. The Congressional Chamber of Commerce is very proud to present this forum. None of the candidates have had an opportunity to know what any of the questions asked tonight are, or even what issues those questions will cover. We ask that members of the audience refrain from applause or any verbal comments during these proceedings. After introduction of the candidates, Mr. Huddleston will be asked to give a round of applause. We're indeed very grateful that each of the candidates has chosen to run for this important seat in our House of Representatives. Therefore, we owe them our attention and respect. Only one of these people here present will succeed and be seated in the Congress of the United States of America representing our 7th District. The very fact anyone chooses to place themselves into contention as an elected leader speaks volumes for their dedication and desire to serve we the people. Each candidate will be given 3 minutes for opening and closing remarks. The order in which they will proceed has already been determined by a coin toss. There will be 6 questions to ask for which each candidate has 2 minutes to give an answer. Our timekeeper, Ms. Bernice Kalin down here in front, has a machine that is very obviously just a little like a traffic signal. The green light is on the bottom, there's an amber light in the middle, or yellow and red on top. So when that 3-minute time is up for the introductions for the first, or the 2 minutes between questions, it'll move on up, and I think when the yellow light comes on, what do we have for these 15 seconds? 15 seconds, and when the red light comes on, if it stays on for a couple of seconds, it makes a loud noise. And the moderator will be asking you not to go any further at that point in time. At the conclusion of this evening's event, our moderator will once again ask for a round of applause in recognition of the effort that will have taken place here tonight. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Travis Credit Union, President and CEO, Ms. Patsy Van Auwerkerk, for allowing us to use this beautiful facility. The Travis Credit Union, Mr. Andy Anderson up here, who is a tireless worker and without whom events such as these would be much more difficult. In addition, this forum is being taped by Vacaville Public Access TV, Comcast Channel 27, and AT&T Channel 99. It will be shown at future dates, and copies will be made available to the candidates. I'd like to remind you that this coming Friday, September the 10th, we will have a forum for City Council. There are 8 candidates vying for 2 open seats. Next Thursday, September the 16th, will be the forum for our 2 mayoral candidates. And on 8 October, we will have our final forum for the 10th Congressional District with Congressman John Garamendi and his opponent, Mr. Gary Cliff. There is also one additional forum being conducted by the Solano County Taxpayers Association on September the 15th for the 4th Supervisorial District between Supervisor John Vasquez and his opponent, Mr. Don Pimple. All of these forums will be held here beginning at 6 p.m. At this time, I'm very pleased to introduce our moderator for this evening, Mr. Steve Huddleston, a longtime leader in our community, as past publisher of our local newspaper, The Reporter, and currently the Vice President of Public Affairs for North Bay Healthcare System. Steve?
Thank you very much, Gary. And I'd like to take a moment to thank Gary Tatum for almost 12 and a half years of service to the community in the Chamber of Commerce after following the City Council. This is his final series of forums, and it's great that we have such an inspiring crowd to send him off with a big victory. Thank you, Gary, very much. Earlier, we flipped a coin to see the sequence in which the candidates will respond to questions and make their opening and closing remarks. Mr. Tubbs prevailed in the coin flip and chose to go first in opening statements and second in closing remarks. So that will be the order. He will also start first answering the question number 1, and we will go back and forth, giving each an opportunity to be first and to be second and in there. The final 3 minutes gives the candidates an opportunity to revisit any issues that were brought up in the question answers they could not get to in their 2-minute statement or 2-minute responses, and also gives them an opportunity perhaps to respond to a question that we weren't smart enough to ask them. Okay? So we'll begin. As I said, Mr. Tubbs, the winner of the Republican primary earlier this year, a resident of Vacaville, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you to the Vacaville Chamber for having us, and thank you, George Miller, for coming and giving us the opportunity to discuss the important issues before the Americans here in District 7. And it's those issues that we're going to talk about tonight, and you'll get a real good idea of the difference between the candidates. And I want you to know, my name is Rick Tubbs. I am running to be your congressman here in District 7. And as I've been going out on the campaign trail, I've talked to many wonderful voters out there. And there's really a gamut between the people. Some voters I go to and I say, I'm running for Congress. They ask me, are you the incumbent? And I say, no. They say, you have my vote. Others, they say, you know, George Miller's been there 35 years. There's a lot of experience. What do you have to offer? And tonight I want to share with you just a little bit about my experience and what I'll bring to the table when I'm your representative. Now, after 35 years, George Miller is the chairman of the Labor Committee. But has he been a union member? And the answer is no. I'm a proud member of the Airline Pilots Association for over 11 years. Has George Miller been a member of the military, the armed services? That important branch that puts their life on the line for freedom and our way of life? The answer is no. I have for 21 years serving the United States Air Force. Thank you.
Please again, Mr. Tubbs, moment, please. Please refrain from applause or any other type of verbal comments until the end. Thank you.
I appreciate it, and everybody in the military appreciates that applause.
Moderator,
We do not, pardon
can you
me?
let him use your mic?
Microphone's bad.
Is it not working?
need to speak directly into the microphone.
Okay. Bernice, do I get more time? All right. Has he been a small business owner? The answer is no, I have, and dealt with the regulations that come from Washington. Has he been an employee of any private company? And the answer is no, I have, flying for a major airline out of San Francisco. Has he been a leader? And as a member of Congress and a legislative committees, I would say no. I have, after 21 years being a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force, leading men and women around the world, accomplishing great things for this country, including balancing a multi-million-dollar military budget for a joint command headquarters. And lastly, George Miller, who would vote to cut off the funds to support our combat troops in Afghanistan, has he ever been to combat? And the answer is no. I have. And these wings represent hundreds of combat hours flying into and out of Afghanistan. I know what combat is. I know what the sacrifice is. And I know that sacrifice is worth it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I offer you my experience to rely on when I go to represent you. And I will leave it to you to decide if that is enough up in Washington. Thank you.
Mr. Tubbs, please some applause. Now we'll hear from incumbent Congressman George Miller.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much to the Vacaville Chamber for hosting this event tonight. Rick, thank you very much for being here, and thank you to all of you in attendance and those of you who will be watching this on TV. The November 2nd elections present our country and our community with a very clear choice about the direction that we want to go. And the point is this, is that whether or not we are going to continue to make progress in advancing America forward after the tragic financial scandals that have taken place and ripped the heart out of this economy and caused so much pain and harm to American families. Or are we going to go back to the very old policies that allowed much of that to happen? I'm arguing and asking for your support for my re-election to a member of Congress so I can go to Washington and continue to fight to move America forward. I don't think we can go back to the agenda that the Republican leaders in the House of Representatives are putting on the table in the Budget Committee before the entire Congress in their substitute budgets, and that is to cut Social Security, to privatize Social Security, to cut the taxes to the top 2% of the richest people in the United States and increase the deficit and continue to allow companies to get incentives to outsource jobs from America. I think that's an agenda that has caused a huge amount of pain, and it's an agenda that we can no longer afford. Every day, as your member of Congress, I go to work on behalf of the hardworking men and women in this district, on behalf of their children, our seniors, and the veterans. And I go there to fight the special interest and to fight for middle America. It was my legislation that took away the subsidies from the banks and gave that money to parents and to students to lower the cost of a college education, to lower the interest rates on that college education. It was my legislation that made it illegal for health insurance companies to take away your insurance because of a pre-existing condition or to cancel your policy because you're sick. It was my legislation that led to the protection of the San Francisco Bay Delta by cutting off the wasteful subsidies to the agricultural business in the Central Valley to protect the economy of the Bay and the Delta, to protect the environment of the Bay and Delta. I fought hard for financial reform, to hold accountable the big banks. I fought against the credit card companies to make sure and help to change the law so they couldn't bill you for hidden fees. They couldn't arbitrarily change your interest rates without your knowledge. These are the issues that have been going on for too long, as a special interest ruled in Washington under the Bush administration. As we went through a series of deregulations, what happened in the Gulf, what we see happened in the financial meltdown in this country. And the question is whether or not we are going to continue down that path. There's a lot that we have to do to keep this country moving in that direction.
Okay, we'll move right into the questions and answers. Again, your